Hello, everyone. This is Luis Concepcion from Strategic Profit Line Trading, coming to you with the plan of the week for week number 4. So, as always, here's our disclosures. Understand that this is for educational purposes and not providing any investment advice. This is not tailored to any one individual, and everyone must understand their investing and time horizon. Past performance does not guarantee future results or success, and all investments and trades involve risk, including the loss of all your principal. On this week's agenda, I got news for you, market overview, and then we got a big week this week starting. Earnings seasons is in effect. We got 330 companies reporting earnings. And for our results last week, we went 0-0. I was very surprised. This is the first time in 4 months that we had a dry week. So hopefully things pick up starting up this week again. Here's a snapshot of the earnings. I'll be providing you with about 15 companies this week on what I think there's a possibility to trade. Everything else you're going to have to find out for yourself. And for those who are still looking to see what it is we do here at Strategic Profit Line Trading, feel free to reach out and contact us for our next course. All right, getting right into the charts. Starting with the S&P 500 or the SPX. Starting with the S&P 500 or the SPX, you can see that we're closed at an all-time high last week at 48.42. I am reporting late this week, so just understand that we are actually trading higher. The futures market is up about 20 points, and so is the Nasdaq. The Nasdaq is up about 30 points, so realize that we are already exceeded these highs even more. So with that being said, there's nothing to do on the shorting side for the S&P 500, and the zone I have for you, the first demand zone I have for you, it's 46.55 to 46.43. Moving on to the Nasdaq, as I just said, this zone was finally violated, as again it worked about a week ago, and that's it. No more supply in the Nasdaq. We're gonna have to wait for a pullback. That first pullback I have for you now that we've made an all-time high. Let's add another zone right here. We can call this a qualified zone now that we've got enough distance to go back up, and that zone is going to be 16,136 to 15,669. And if for whatever reason this doesn't hold, we got the 15,349 to 15,064. Moving on to the Dow Jones. The Dow Jones, another market that doesn't have any supply. And the first zone I have for you is 362.52 to 359.99. Moving on to the rut. So these are the same zones that are holding on the rut, the IWM. This zone is still in effect, 2025 to 2103. You can see we try to break it, never happened, and we fell down. The rut's still in the middle, even though the other markets are higher. So just understand that we missed this zone about 10 ticks. So just understand this zone is still also in effect. You got the 1887 to 1847. Now moving into earnings for the week. Start with UAL, United Airlines. We got earnings. On the supply side, I got 44.21 to 46.73. I understand that this zone has already worked, however, it has not been violated. So if you want to be more conservative, you got the 48.70 to 50.68. And on the demand side, you got 33.95 to 31.59. Next company I'm going to cover, Logitech. As you can see in the middle here, got earnings this week as well. First zone I have for you is 87.79 to 83.40. Company I'm going to cover who has earnings, Verizon. On the supply side, 42.98 to 44.53, and on the demand side, you got 34.65 to 33.37. 3M. So 3M on the demand side, 94.83, 91.29. Because 3M's earnings aren't as great. I'm sorry, as earnings aren't premiums aren't that great. I don't have a supply zone for you, so we're just gonna stick on the demand side. Again, 94.83 to 91.29. For those of you who want to be more aggressive, you have this zone right here. I understand that this has already touched and taken off, and that's 113 to 97.95. RTX is the next company I have for you. On the demand side, 74.85 to 71.92. On the supply side, 95.18 to 98.93. Halliburton. Halliburton is in a zone right now. You can see this has already worked once, and if we breach out of here tomorrow, it's a high chance that that's going to be the low of the week, but be cognizant of earnings. In the event that this zone gets violated, I got a 24.91 for you to 23.27 on the demand side and 44.02 to 46.92 on the supply side. Johnson and Johnson on the demand side, 143.04, 137.44, and on the supply side, 172.34, 175.96. Be aware that this supply zone has been utilized on multiple occasions and has worked. So probability of this working again, maybe 50-50, but just be aware of that this zone has worked multiple times already, but hasn't been violated. Moving on, Lockheed Martin has earnings as well. So Lockheed Martin, first zone I have for you on supply side is 478.64 to 484.13 and 494.64 to 508.54. Understand that this zone has already worked. And that's on the supply side. On the demand side, I got 407.85 to 388.51. P&G on the demand side, 135.36 to 130.85. On the supply side, 159.35 to 164.83. ISRG. ISRG has no supply. On the demand side, I got 317.95 to 303.52. Next company I'm gonna cover is Texas Instruments. So on the supply side, 177.51 to 181.39, and on the demand side, 155.64, 151.25. As you can see, there's another zone right underneath it at 149.94 to 143.05. Next I'm gonna cover is Abbott Laboratories. So for Abbott on the supply side, 115.86 to 119.83. As you can see, we've previously hit this zone and fell pretty good from there. So 115.86 to 119.83 on the supply side. On the demand side, 97.10 to 91.26. And that's Abbott Laboratories for you. Next company I'm gonna cover is Kimberly-Clark. So on the demand side, 116.29 to 111.36. On the supply side, 142.30 to 147.94. You might as well just make that 148. That's Kimberly-Clark. Tesla also has earnings this week. So on the demand side, 193.47 to 177.36. Aggressive zone right here, 247 to 251. And then the next zone is going to be 262.02 to 273.90. That's going to be Tesla. Las Vegas Sands has earnings as well. On the supply side, 52.40 to 55.79. On the demand side, 41.13 to 38.95. Love or Southwest Airlines on the demand side, 25.25 to 24.02, and on the supply side, 35.46 to 37.60. Humana is the next company I'm going to cover. It had a big drop this past week. I'm not sure why. I know earnings is this week, but they had a significant drop from 438 all the way down to under 400, and it hit this 390. So be mindful. If we come back down here, understand this is a big level, 390 to 352. So you might want to let earnings play out. However, 390 to 352 on the demand side and 447.61 to 474.52 on the supply side. And the last company I'm going to cover is American Express. So for American Express on the supply side, 194.98, 199.59, and on the demand side, 165.26 to 161.57. I went a little bit quick today because I covered a lot of companies. Just wanted to not take too long on this. And like I said, we had a lot of companies, and these are the ones that I think that we might have a shot of them hitting our zones. So be cognizant, a lot of earnings. So we should have a lot of good movement, a lot of volatility this week. Moving into our news. So for news, on Monday, we have nothing really for the U.S. markets. However, the Japanese yen is going to be affected several times tomorrow. So be cognizant of that. As you can see, they don't have no hard times for some of these reports. So be cognizant for those of you trading futures and Forex for the Japanese yen. Moving on to Tuesday, New Zealand dollar is the only thing being affected. Once again, leaving the U.S. markets alone. On Wednesday, the euro's being affected, British pound, and the Canadian dollar. And we got PMI 15 minutes after the market opens. So be cognizant of not only earnings, but we got a report being released 15 minutes after the market open on Wednesday. Moving on to Thursday, we got GDP and unemployment claims pre-market. So be cognizant of that. And then moving on to Friday, we got PCI price index, and that's going to do it for us this week on the news. And last but not least, here's my contact information. Feel free to follow me on Facebook and LinkedIn this week for updated trades in the event that market conditions change. If you haven't done so already, please hit that subscribe button. And as always, till next time, happy trading, have a plan, and see you next week.